Imagine this. You're standing on the precipice of a storm, a vortex of your own making, and the winds that whip around you are the unresolved projections of a man who cannot see you. He sees an echo, a fragment of his own mother or a ghost of a past lover, and in his eyes, you become a screen upon which he plays out the unexamined drama of his own life. The modern woman, in her quest for a partnership that feels whole, often finds herself trapped in this archetypal theater, navigating a landscape littered with emotional immaturity and stunted masculine growth. She arrives at a man's doorstep, prepared to engage with his soul, only to find a boy still clinging to the comforts of his mother's shadow. He offers not a hand to hold, but a mirror reflecting only his own needs. This is the great disillusionment of our age, the silent sorrow carried by so many women who have done the internal work, only to be met with a partner who has not yet begun his. This is not a condemnation of men, but an illumination of a profound psychic imbalance. The feminine has been forced to do the heavy lifting, to individuate, to confront her own darkness and heal her wounds, while the masculine has often been permitted to linger in a state of arrested development, propped up by societal norms that reward ego and suppress emotional depth. The man who has not faced his own shadow, the parts of himself he deems weak, vulnerable, or unacceptable, is perpetually enslaved by it. He will project these unintegrated qualities onto the woman in his life, seeking a savior to do the work he refuses to do, or a scapegoat to blame for his own internal chaos. This is why you see so many relationships built on a foundation of unspoken resentment, a quiet war waged between two people who were never meant to carry each other's burdens. The woman, in her compassionate and nurturing nature, often accepts this role, mistaking a man's need for her for his true love for her. She becomes his therapist, his mother, his emotional crutch, all while her own soul cries out for a partner, an equal, a man who has done the work of becoming whole. The true work of feminine empowerment, therefore, is not to fix the man, but to retreat from the battlefield entirely. It is the profound Stoic act of focusing inward, of cultivating a fortress of self-worth that cannot be breached by the projections of another. This is the alchemy of turning pain into power. Every moment you spend trying to awaken a man who is still asleep is a moment you are not investing in your own individuation. This channel has always been about that journey, the long, arduous, and ultimately liberating path of becoming your own hero. It's about understanding that the love you seek externally is but a reflection of the love you must first find within. It's about recognizing that the shadow self, the wounded parts of you that crave validation and approval, is what makes you susceptible to the very men who will fail to provide it. You must embrace that darkness, that vulnerability, and integrate it into your conscious being. Only then can you stand in your full power, unswayed by the promises of a man who offers only a fraction of himself. The woman who has done this work becomes a force of nature. She is the ocean, not a ship to be tossed about on its waves. She is the mountain, not the shifting sands. She knows her worth not because a man tells her so, but because she has forged it in the fire of her own self-discovery. This is the ultimate freedom, the unshakable truth that nothing external can either make or break you. What happens when the projection is no longer enough to contain the shadow? A man, confronted by a woman who has become whole, finds his carefully constructed reality begins to crumble. She is no longer the receptacle for his unintegrated parts. Her self-worth, forged in the crucible of her own shadow work, acts as a psychic shield, deflecting his neediness and his unconscious demands. He may retreat in confusion, angered by her newfound boundaries, or he may lash out, his ego wounded by her inability to play the part he has scripted for her. This is a moment of profound truth, both for him and for you. For him, it is the moment he must either begin his own hero's journey, the long, dark descent into his own unconscious, or remain a slave to his past. For you, it is the moment you must hold firm, without a trace of apology, a quiet embodiment of the principles you have cultivated. This is the great work of individuation, a process Carl Jung described as the lifelong journey of becoming a complete and whole person. For women, this journey is often a rebellion against the archetypal roles society has cast upon her, the eternal mother, the patient caregiver, the sacrificial lamb. It is the conscious choice to integrate the parts of herself that have been suppressed, the warrior, the wise crone, the untamed wild woman. This integration is not a gentle process. It is a fierce confrontation with the ghost of who you were told you should be. You must look into the face of your own trauma, not as a victim, but as the one who survived. You must recognize that the wounds you carry are not proof of your brokenness, but a testament to your resilience. The feeling of being not enough, the quiet hum of anxiety, the constant need for external validation, these are echoes of a past where your worth was conditional. This is where modern psychology meets ancient wisdom, where the science of trauma recovery converges with the philosophy of the Stoics. Seneca knew this truth when he wrote about the inner fortress. He understood that true freedom comes not from controlling external events, but from controlling your response to them. A woman who has reclaimed her self-worth understands this on a visceral level. The actions of a man, his praise or his criticism, are external events. They have no power over her internal state unless she gives them that power. She learns to observe his behavior with a detached curiosity, asking, is this his truth or his projection? She understands that his emotional landscape is not her responsibility to map or to heal. This detachment is not coldness. It is a profound act of self-love and emotional sovereignty. It is the recognition that the only person you can truly save is yourself. It is the wisdom to know that a man who has not faced his own demons is not a safe haven, but a storm waiting to happen. To anchor yourself in him is to invite the very chaos you have worked so hard to overcome. The path forward is one of uncompromising self-regard. It is about building a life so rich with purpose and meaning that the presence or absence of a man becomes an addition, not a necessity. This is the radical act of living from a place of abundance, not scarcity. The woman who is whole does not chase, she attracts. She does not beg for crumbs of attention. She radiates a light that draws in those who are ready for a real connection, a profound partnership between two fully realized individuals. This is not about being a pick-me or playing games. This is about being so rooted in your own being that the energy you emit is magnetic. This is the final frontier of feminine power, the courage to be alone, to be full, to be enough for yourself, and in doing so, to become a magnet for a man who is equally whole and equally liberated. This channel, and the community it is building, is about that journey. It is about providing the maps for that psychological terrain, the tools for that shadow work, and the unwavering support of a collective of women who are all on the same path, moving from a place of need to a place of power. There is a fundamental shift occurring, a tectonic plate moving beneath the surface of the collective feminine psyche. The old narratives, the ones that told you to wait to be chosen, to contort yourself to fit into a man's life, are no longer holding. They are dissolving like sugar in water, leaving behind a bitter residue of wasted years and unfulfilled potential. This is the death of the old archetype, the damsel, the Cinderella, and the slow, powerful emergence of a new one, the queen. The queen is not defined by her kingdom, but by her self-possession. She does not need a king to legitimize her rule. She is sovereign in her own right. This shift is not a gentle evolution. It is a revolution, and every woman who chooses to do her shadow work is a soldier in this silent war. She is battling not against men, but against the internalized patriarchy that has taught her to devalue herself. The greatest challenge on this journey is not the external opposition, but the internal saboteur. It is the voice that whispers, "You are too much, or you will end up alone." This is the ego's final, desperate attempt to cling to the familiar, to the comfort of codependency, even if that comfort is a cage. It is the fear of true freedom, a fear that is so profound because it requires you to be fully responsible for your own happiness. There is no one to blame, no one to fix, no one to rescue you. This is the essence of psychological maturity, the moment you realize that your internal state is entirely your own jurisdiction. The work of becoming a queen is the work of mastering this inner kingdom. It is the practice of Marcus Aurelius's detachment, of observing your own thoughts and emotions without becoming enslaved by them. It is the understanding that a thought is just a thought, an emotion is just an emotion. They are visitors, not residents, and you, the conscious observer, are the one who decides whether to let them take up permanent residence in your soul. This path requires a radical honesty, a willingness to see the parts of yourself you've hidden away, the jealousy, the insecurity, the silent rage, these are not flaws to be ashamed of, but signposts leading you toward a deeper truth. They are pieces of your unintegrated shadow, crying out for your attention and compassion. To deny them is to give them power. To integrate them is to become whole. This is the deep, sacred work of healing from trauma, not just the big, dramatic traumas, but the small, insidious wounds of 1,000 tiny betrayals of self. The moments you stayed silent when you wanted to speak, the times you diminished your light to make a man feel bigger, the relationships you clung to out of fear of being alone. Every one of these moments has left a mark, a scar on your psyche, and the healing begins when you finally acknowledge them, not with judgment, but with an unwavering love for the woman who endured them. This channel, this community, has been a space for that radical honesty, a safe harbor where you can bring your whole, messy, beautiful self without fear of being judged. The future of this channel is to deepen that work, to move beyond the surface level dynamics and into the profound, transformative power of this inner liberation. We will explore not just the archetypes of men, but the lost and wounded archetypes within you. The fierce huntress, the intuitive oracle, the wise crone, these are parts of you waiting to be awakened. This is not about becoming a new person, but about remembering who you have always been, beneath the layers of expectation and conditioning. It is the final shedding of the skin, the full and total reclamation of your power. This path, the one that leads to the queen archetype, is not a destination but a constant becoming. It is the conscious engagement with the work that has been laid out for us by the collective unconscious, a sacred duty to our own souls. It is a solitary journey, but not a lonely one. It is a journey that reveals the truth of your own cosmic significance, a truth that no man's approval or disapproval can ever diminish. For the woman who has done this work, a man becomes a partner in a shared adventure, not the prize at the end of a long, arduous trial. He becomes a fellow sovereign, not a master to be pleased. And if he cannot rise to meet you on that level, you can observe his limitations with a quiet understanding, not with the heartbroken despair of a woman who has staked her entire self-worth on his willingness to see her. This is the great detachment of the Stoics, in its most potent feminine form. It is the ability to love without being consumed, to desire without being defined by that desire. It is the deep knowing that your happiness, your fulfillment, and your peace are all within your own hands. The man who is worthy of you will not see this as a threat. He will see it as a beautiful, magnetic force. He will be drawn to your wholeness, not to your neediness. He will be a man who has also faced his own shadow, who has wrestled with his own demons, and who understands that true partnership is the union of two complete souls, not the desperate fusion of two half-empty vessels. He will not need you to complete him, and you will not need him to complete you. You will simply choose to walk together, side by side, because the journey is richer with a companion who sees your full, luminous, and terrifying power, and is not afraid of it. This channel's future, and the purpose of the inner circle we are launching, is to provide a container for this exact work. It is a space where the collective sorrow of being misunderstood, undervalued, and unseen by the modern masculine can be transformed into a collective power. It is a place for women to find their tribe, their sisterhood, and to draw strength from one another as they do the deep, solitary work of individuation. We will delve into the hidden corridors of your psyche, confront the shadows you have buried, and awaken the archetypal energies that have been dormant within you. We will use the wisdom of Jungian psychology and Stoic philosophy as our maps, guiding you toward a life of profound self-possession and emotional freedom. We will give you the tools to become your own source of validation, your own wellspring of love, and your own unwavering rock in a world that is constantly shifting. The inner circle is not a community for fixing men. It is a laboratory for building queens. It is a sacred space for the woman who is tired of being the echo and is ready to become the voice. It is for the woman who understands that the greatest love story she will ever write is the one she writes with herself. This is the final and most powerful act of feminine empowerment, to choose yourself completely and irrevocably every single day. The man who is meant for you will simply be the one who celebrates that choice, not the one who asks you to choose him instead. And so, the journey continues, not toward a man, but toward the woman you were always meant to become.